Emily Woodward was born on May 2, 1885, on a large plantation outside of Vienna. Her parents were well educated, and her life was comfortably affluent. But that wasn't enough for Emily, who had become one of the state's most influential journalists, an advocate of prison reform, and an active member of the state's Democratic Party.
She was sort of affluent family and well-educated family. And I think that's one reason that she became so educated and that she was interested in seeing women do more.
Emily attended public schools in Vienna and Gordon Institute at Barnesville before returning home to work in various businesses.
1916, I believe, two of her relatives bought the Vienna News and she became the assistant editor. And in 1918, she bought the Vienna News. So she started out early.
Emily Woodward became one of very few women in Georgia and the country to own a newspaper, and she remained at the paper through 1932.
She enjoyed a good relationship with the Atlanta papers. She had very close and personal friends in the Atlanta newspaper staff and editorial board. WSB was an affiliate of hers. She did programs for WSB.
In 1928, she was elected president of the Georgia Press Association. And I think around the same time, she served as honorary secretary for the National Democratic Convention. She did not have a degree, and she was leading this Leadership Institute and training community leaders, the same thing that we're doing today.
When I decided to run for public office, to run for the mayor's office, I went to see her and to talk to her about it because I knew that she did have an awful lot of experience in the political arena. When I was elected as mayor, she sent me a wonderful little poem that told me that I should never forget that the people elected me and that I was to always look out for the best interest of the people.
Controversy was no stranger to Miss M, as she became known in her hometown. During the 40s, she began to fight for prison reform by directing town hall meetings at the Atlanta Federal Penitentiary.
She got involved in a program to do education for prisoners in the federal prison in Atlanta and enlarged that to a program that she called Forums, which are discussion groups, sort of public education. And she did a book called Forums based on that.
She believed that educated people could change their situations and that you could be educated by reading and studying and coming together in these forums.
Emily also participated in the Atlanta Conference on Race Relations in 1943 and was an advocate of training local leaders to empower themselves to direct their county and state to greater heights.
In 1946, I believe it was, she signed the Atlanta Conference on Racial Issues, and that was would have been very controversial at that time. But she believed in it, and she thought that things needed to be better for all people.
She had this wonderful knack of accepting everyone, regardless. And at this particular time, you know, the integration issue was still a major issue, and she didn't hesitate to let you know that she felt like that enough was not being done to bring about harmony from within the community.
She wrote two books, one in 1936, and it's a compilation of pictures throughout the state of Georgia. And to me, it's a good history book because some of these places don't exist anymore.
It's one that for years I thought that would be something to redo, you know, 50 years later. Well, that's too late now, that'd be 75 years later. But it's those kind of things that I knew her for, but having the inside view of it, I always thought, you know, this is a special member of my family, and I was very, very proud of that.
Emily Woodward traveled the world and went to England in 1944 at the invitation of the American and British Offices of War Information to hold forums and improve relations between the two countries. Traveling with a convoy of other dignitaries, Emily delivered radio addresses over the BBC while bombs were falling around them.
She went to Great Britain and spoke to the English people about America and the way we operated and all this kind of thing, and tried to establish forums with them. And it was very interesting that with bombs falling around her, here she was speaking.
At the end of World War II, the United States War Department and the State Department asked Emily to serve on General MacArthur's Committee on Education. She traveled to Japan, where she visited schools and discussed what needed to be done to bring their educational system into the 20th century.
And I like to think that her and that committee perhaps a reason that Japan is now touted as such a wonderful educational opportunity.
Miss M represented what I thought was high culture and education. And it's funny, she didn't have much of formal education. She didn't get a degree. She had honorary degrees from a couple of places, LaGrange and the University of Georgia.
Never married, and she had 2 nieces. Was a happy person as far as I knew.
I was in the Georgia State Archives, and there's a photograph, and it said Moyna Michael, Margaret Mitchell, unidentified. So I went to the desk and I said, I can identify the 3rd person.
All these women had success in certain areas. Miss Emily was very successful in so many areas. She really was way above the norm upon not only the small community like Guyana, but upon the entire nation and an awful lot of the rest of the world.
As a Georgia woman of achievement, Emily Woodward left a legacy not only for Georgians, but also for all citizens of a democratic society through her pioneering work on public forums and as a journalist, educator, and advocate.